welcome back to the Lighthouse Addiction Topics show. My name is Joselle and I'm your host for today. And today our topic is prevention, and I am here with our special guest. We have Danny Murphy, welcome, and we have Anna. Welcome, guys. And Danny is the founder of a nonprofit organization called Stop B4U Start. So first of all, we'll just go ahead and let you guys introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourselves.
My name is Danny Murphy. I am the founder of Stop B4U Start. I've been doing Stop B4U Start since 2015, and we raise awareness and prevention in schools. And we've spoken at many schools, elementary schools. We've gone to even kindergarten, which is one of my favorites. We've also done. We talk about smoking in schools too. We've done that up in Huntington Beach. We also do a lot of outreach in recovery centers to go in. I bring a panel of young people, and we share our experience and hope, what it looks like, how recovery looks for them. And we also, when we go into schools, the whole objective of that is it's kind of like seeing how your life looks like after you continue that road of drinking or doing drugs, and what it will look like in the future.
So in a sense, it's like playing the tape through.
It's playing the tape through. It's just bringing more awareness. And I think we just constantly need to have awareness. But the solution that we have, I mean, you really can't tell. We can't even tell us what to do sometimes as adults. So if you think about kids, they're not going to listen very well either. But the whole thing is based upon communication. It's if you could find someone to talk to about what's going on, good or bad, maybe that could be a game changer.
Yeah, sure. I definitely believe that. How about you, Anna? You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I go with Danny often to speak at the high schools just to get the word out to Stop B4U Start.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And what sparked your interest in working in this field or being of service in this field?
I just love to watch people get better.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Mm-hmm.
Danny, I'd like to ask, what is the catalyst that inspired you to start this organization? Like, did something in particular happen in your own life, or is this something that you just observed, a need that you needed to see fulfilled?
I've been in recovery since 1996.
Wow.
So I've been sober 22 years. I just celebrated my birthday. I really had no desire about starting a nonprofit or anything like this, but I worked in a restaurant. My first job was a get-well job, and I worked in a restaurant when I got sober, and I stayed there because I didn't know what else to do, because it was a great job. It was a great way for me to work. I showed up every day. And then about, 4 years or so, I was speaking at a high school. I was just being of service, just, going in and sharing my story. This is what it looks like. Same thing, just talking. And then what happened, I don't know. Something like enlightened me to stop this, to do something more. And this idea came up called Stop B4U Start. I had a vision for it. I've always heard about people getting visions or beliefs or
like a
yeah, but I always thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
I was like, no. I was going to church a lot. They were saying listen to God, and I'm like, no, I try not to, because I don't listen very well. And I heard this message, and I started this thing called Stop B4U Start. I turned nonprofit, and from there we made movies. They're on. We made some documentaries. There's a documentary. There's a middle school piece. There's awareness piece. There's a motivation piece. There's just different. We have a couple great speakers. Tobias has been great. His name is Tobias. Excellent speaker. Biker guy. He comes out and does his thing. We've had hundreds of people. Hundreds of people have asked me to come out and speak in schools, and I've allowed them all to come out and speak. We brought in live heroin addicts into schools, with a nurse or a doctor to be able to show what it looks like. Like this is real. You can sit there and talk about it on a board, but no one really understands it until you really see it live.
Sure.
That's it. Yeah, it's been great. I was able to go to Washington, and I spoke up at Washington. It was on the side. It was like a side room, and they were talking about schools, and I was able to say a couple words, which was big for me. I did the intervention show.
Oh, wow.
This is a great story. You want to hear a story?
Yeah.
Great story. So I get a phone call from somebody on the phone, and they go, "Hey, can you help us? Our family's in need. We need an interventionist, and we have no money." And I'm like, "Well, let me see." And then I get this phone call, I will tell you not, from the intervention show, okay? Annie gives me a call. I didn't even know who they are. They called me and they go, "We got your name from somebody. They say that you know a lot of people." And I say, "Oh my gosh, I do. I know someone right now that needs help." So I call the person back, and I organized this thing, and I ran around, did this, did that, and then they made me go film over there, and we got this guy on the show. His name was Daniel M. It aired a few years ago in June, and I believe he's still sober, and he's in Arizona right now. But
wow, good for him.
But yeah, it was great. It was crazy. You know, and then I got another phone call, and I always wanted to be on a magazine, but for something else, like Fortune 500 or something, or GQ. I always wanted that in school. Like, I mean, look at me, like, or fitness. But I got on this recovery magazine, like, okay, well, this is good enough too. But I was able to get on a recovery magazine, and that was pretty cool. And then the funniest part about this, before getting sober, I never thought I would amount to anything. I was one of those guys that came in and I couldn't stay sober.
Yeah.
You know, and I honestly think by doing the work over and over and just keep showing up, that, you know, it 18 something years later, you know, something came up to me and I was able to go out and do what I do now. You know, I enjoy it.
Well, thank you for what you do. I
Thank
want to
you.
talk a little bit about really the essence of Stop Before You Start, which is prevention, creating awareness to the stigma and just the disease of addiction, right? So can you tell us a little bit about how you decided on that name, Stop Before You Start?
It's a strange thing.
Yeah. I've always been curious.
You know what? I have no idea. It came to me. It just like, it came to me.
Oh.
It came. I didn't create anything. People that know me, I just, whatever I say, whatever I do, it doesn't come from me.
Mm-hmm.
It comes from something else.
Mm-hmm.
I had that vision. I came home and I was like, stop. And there was like a couple people that were there at the table, and I'm like, hey, and I go, Lynn, hey, I got this idea. I got to quit my job, and I think God wants me to go start a nonprofit. Wow. And he looked at me like, you're nuts. And then my other friend was there, and then I go, I think I got a vision. This is like really true. This is like crazy. And so I go, maybe it's Stop Before You Start. And this other guy said, well, stop, and then put a B, and then for you start. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. But that sounds good. But I had stopped before. I thought it was another way, and they thought it was another way, and then that was it. Stop B4 with the form, and we just ran with it. Yeah, it was crazy.
Okay. So what do you feel like the ideal age is to start education on drug prevention? Because you were just saying that you do.
To be honest with you, if I had to really be honest in what I've seen, I think I'm no offense to high school, this whole thing. I think high school is way too late.
Yeah.
I'm not. I think it's great that we go in then when we talk about it in high school, because I think it's too late because they're making up their mind. I think, to what I've seen and what I know, I think they're making up their mind already what they're going to do. Freshmen in high school, I think it hits in sophomore year. Mm-hmm. Sophomore year, there's a pivotal change in high school.
Yeah.
Hormones, everything starts flying around. I mean, and they're not even paying attention to that. Freshman year, you might have a better chance. I honestly believe 7th and 8th grade, you're really starting to figure out, you know, if you're going to be a bad child or a good child, you know. I think maybe 5th grade. I don't know, you know. I'm just thinking, this is what I've been doing for a while, for 3 years, and then plus I'm in recovery, and I go to millions of, like, 12-step meetings. I mean, I go to meetings all the time. This is what I'm hearing. And I think the problem that we have is once you get addicted to the addiction of, if you are an alcoholic, you like the effect produced by alcohol, period. And you like it. It's just something that you like to do. The other problem that we have, the society that we have today, is creating addiction in us with our video games, things that are phones. Our society in our heads is creating us to become, train our minds to be addicted. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys understand that? You're following me out there in this world. We're being trained to become addicted. We're training our youth, our kids, you know? So what's happening is that when a substance is introduced, like drugs, especially like the opiates and the heroin is like huge, right? It's so cheap. You know, I'm a product of the 80s. I love the cocaine, okay? Seriously, right? But if there was heroin, I'd be doing heroin, right? But it wasn't available. I like heroin was like, remind me of, like, it was not what we did. That was not cool. So the addiction that's being created in our society, and then once we do this, it's making us evolve to make this chemical that we do, and we do it over and over and over. And what I've seen with about 20 addicts that are heroin addicts, this is what I've seen, is that they have to keep doing it, and they can't stop. Even if help is so available to them, like it is available for them. We will help, and they can't do it. The other thing that we have going on is that they have to get to a point, this is so sad, is they have to get to a point of death. Something needs to happen at the end. It needs to get to a point that it's such bad, it's such training that they're at a point of almost dying and finding some type of light or something to save them. But it doesn't come from a human being, because the power needs to be greater than any human. Because beyond human aid, I mean, it says it over and over in books, you cannot help them. And I think so many people around them want to help all these people, and that's not our solution, because what's happening is that the person that's the one that's doing it doesn't want to help, because they turn it away over and over and over. You know, that's only my opinion. I mean, that's what I see, and it's really sad once you cross that line. And that's why it's so important to do Stop Before You Start, and that's why it's so important. Any organization, it doesn't have to be mine. It's really important that we constantly be in these schools and educating these kids at whatever age, right? But also, I think earlier the age is constant education. So you let them know at an early age, before they even start it, that they know what the outcome is. You got to let them give that opportunity, to give them a chance to make that decision. You know, this is how it looks like before they even do the drug. You know, because if you do have that, maybe you could shift. There is things that you could shift your life and to become different in areas, ways to achieve yourself. And I also believe it's a spiritual sickness. I mean, it's a spiritual sickness in our younger youth. You know, and the only way to recover from that is being of service and helping other people. Because it gets you out of yourself, it makes you feel better, and then we find purpose within ourselves. It's like crazy. It's like a really bizarre thing. If you want to get sober, help people, right? And find something that's not yourself, greater than yourself, like a higher power, God, Jesus, whatever that is, whatever that looks like, whatever your concept is. And I think that that's how you stay sober. That's how you get well. I mean, those are the two antidotes.
So I was actually researching a little bit on this Stop Before You Start website earlier, and I saw a clip of one of your documentaries, and you had mentioned you believe that connection is what's going to help prevent, young children or the youth from going into this destructive direction of using drugs and alcohol. Anna, do you agree?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that. This is my friend Anna. Isn't she beautiful?
She's
I mean,
gorgeous,
she is just
very
gorgeous. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. No, I believe that it's a spiritual sickness too, and I believe that it requires a spiritual solution to get back to how you need to be.
What does that look like, a spiritual solution?
My personal spiritual solution is Jesus, and that's how I got better and how I recovered from my addiction.
That's beautiful.
Yes, but I mean overall, just higher power or there's a lot of different forms of it, I suppose.
So what about, so that's amazing that you both recovered, but how can we help the youth? Like, what can we say to them to help them find connection or encourage them to find some sort of different pathway so they don't go into that direction?
I like what you're saying that, because you can't go up to like, hey, a 10-year-old or 8-year-old, hey, your problem is, did you know your problem is spiritual? They're gonna go, what? What? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Man, it is really tough. I mean, I don't, it's really tough. And I think that, and then we go back to the connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's super huge that you stay connected to your child.
Yeah.
You know, my son, like, gets so mad at me when I'm on my phone and he's trying to talk with me. And there are moments, like, I do take my phone to the side. But I constantly, like, keep that connection with him on a regular basis. Like, there's a connection. I watch him. His mother's great with him in a sense of, like, she's staying connected. My son's really honest, which he must have lost that from my gene, because he's like, he tells the truth. Like, dude, why'd you do that? You know, like,
yeah.
I get like, I can't do that. So it's teaching him values like that. Like, he is like, but I don't know. I mean, he's still young, right? So we don't know. But I honestly think by staying connected to your child, or if he has one of those days at school, hey, Mom, guess what? I smoked some weed today at school. My friend Pat O, I love you, Pat. Pat goes, he wished that he would have communicated that and was honest. I just love that when he said that. Everybody has said that. In one of the videos that I have, there's one thing that we made a video about addicts talking to their parents. Mm-hmm. They all, I think there's 15 of them or so, they all say the same thing. They wish that they would have talked about what was going on with them growing up. Mm-hmm. They all said the same thing. So I did something, I liked it, I don't know what to do about it, I want to share with you. But the problem is, can parents be available to hear that answer?
Yeah.
They don't want to hear it. I'm not, yeah. I mean, it's like, no, I don't want to hear that you did that, because you're going to get over it. You're going to grow through your stages. I want you to study. I want you to get A's. And most of the kids that I get in my groups, stuff like that, smart, brilliant people and stuff like that, they have some of the most problems. Athlete people, they have some of the most problems, because most of their whole lives are focusing on what goes on the outside. It's like me. It's not how you feel. It's how you look. That's always been my image. It's never been how I felt inside. I can't share about how I feel. And I think what is really good about society today, you know, because there's a lot of groups that are talking about this. Jody Barber is doing a great job what she does. I love Jody. I love Jody. And she's awesome. And I got to throw a thing out to Mike Zipridge. Awesome guy. Mike's been like, he's just been helping people.
Yeah.
I don't know what, he's like, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. What a nice, good man. I mean, like, oh my gosh. And I think that if more of the recovery stuff with people are more willing to help people, you know, and just try to help them, and not the money, when you throw money involved in trying to help someone that's poor, like in need, it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. You know, because the money always seems to win and the poor always seems to suffer. Mm-hmm. And it's really sad out there. And I see that Mike's doing it differently, you know, and I think if you have a good heart and you have the right direction in what you're going to do, you're always going to succeed to try to help somebody. And that's the program that with Stop Before You Start. We try to care from the heart, you know, and we try to share from the heart. It hasn't always gone so good. We've had issues throughout the years with certain things that we've gone through and learning, and we keep learning and we keep learning. And I think, you know, like communication that we talked about is really, I don't know what else. I've never communicated very well.
Well, what I'm hearing from what you were saying is, you know, reaching out to the youth is just one part, but having their parents get education as well, that's super important. I mean, parents only do the best that they can, but how are they to know that it's important to sit down and talk with their children? Okay, is this what you did? Did you try some marijuana? Okay, how can we move forward from here? You know, they don't realize that, so it's important as well to get that education, right?
I think it's important to be able to communicate to your child if they do good things, they do bad things. We don't want to hear the bad things. We always want to hear the good. But we got to take them both in and treat them the same way. Because to allow people to make, I wasn't allowed to make mistakes, and I needed to make, and I didn't know how to. So if I did make a mistake, I would cover up to make it was a good mistake. Like I would never let anybody know that I was doing anything wrong, and I didn't know what I was doing. And that still happens today in society with me, because I do things and I think, oh, I'm doing it right, and I don't know. And now recently in the last year or so, I ask a lot of questions about even my nonprofit, things I do. I need help. What do I do? I got a great guy, Dave. I ask him, hey, what about my finances? How do I do this? You know, because I haven't done things right, because my thinking is not always so good. So can you imagine of a child? And you remember, when these addicts are in rehabs, okay, and they're maybe from, let's say, at an early age, from 17 to maybe 30s, and when they get sober, mentally, physically, they're like, what, 12-year-olds. And you know how we think. That's 2 years older than my son, like 2 years up, you know? So it's like, how are they thinking? You know, they're like, oh, you know, they don't have that emotional thing. We're trying to get the child all the way up to 25, you know, so they could use their brain more. But that doesn't all. You want to push them as far as you can away from it.
I get it.
You know what I mean? But that's not always it either. I've heard it all. I have great parents. My parents love me, all this stuff, and they still turn out wrong. So it is probably a spiritual sickness. It could be a lot of chemical thing wrong. There is a solution. It's a program of action. It is a program of action. Do I want to be here? No. Do you want to be here? No. He definitely doesn't want to be here. You know what I mean?
Thank you guys so much for being here.
But as we leave, there's a sense of feeling better.
Yes.
We're all looking to feel better without doing something to make us feel better. We want to do something spiritually on a level that fills us up internally, which you can't see. Which you can't see. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Absolutely.
We feel better through something that's an entity of something that you can't see, which is amazing. You know, the antidote to all this goes out to my other friend, is love, basically. It's my friend Jill Gilly. She does a thing on videos, but it's all about love, really. It's better to love somebody than hate somebody. But, you know, I'm 55 and I'm learning this stuff. You know, I've gone through a lot, so.
Yeah, it's a learning process for all of us, I believe.
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely.
What advice would you give somebody who was currently experiencing peer pressure? Anna?
I'll let Danny take this one.
Really? What about peer pressure?
Peer pressure?
Just your own opinion.
Well, I think it's important for children to have an identity,
Yeah.
whether that be like extracurricular activities, especially like when they're young, like be proud of who they are, so they're not like,
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, so they don't go down that path. Like Danny said, it's inevitable sometimes, but yeah, that's what I think about that.
What I did wrong, you gotta hear this. What I did wrong, I will go to any lengths to make you like me.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
I will do whatever it takes
Yeah.
to be a part of a group. If you tell me to do this, I will do it, because I just want to be a part of something. I used to show this a lot. Like, I would if I go walk into a bar, met a girl, had a cocktail, and I met her and I had a 5-minute conversation with her, I'd feel more closer to her, right, than I did with my whole family within minutes, because there's that connection. You know, I'm always was searching. I was always that person looking for that group or something to be along with. Problem why I can't be connected to my family growing up, because it all started with the self-centeredness, because everything was revolved around me. Because I was adapted to give me, give me, give me. I just take. So how does that go? Like, as a child too, you're a child, and they give, feed you all this stuff, clothe you, and then, of course you're gonna come out in a certain way. It's very rare that you see certain children just do things. When they do, it blows me away when they just do something so thoughtful and so kind. It's like, wow, where'd you get that at? You know. And I think it's important that we live by example. But the other thing I always would share this with. I always say, what we should do is take your child out 6 or 7. This is child abuse. I won't do it. But take them to the wilderness. That you go out in the wilderness, you find something out there that, God, you find your way back. If you do, then it's good, right? You got to go out and find whatever, spiritual God, whatever you need to do. Find him, come back, take you home, right? At an early age, to find something within themselves, that concept of a belief of their own. I think that's the problem with society, because most people that come in the rooms after all the years of such bad taste in religion, with getting sober, and what works in recovery is is that people come up with their own concept of what they believe from within themselves. It's changed. It changes a person that know that they could be okay with themselves with their own God, instead of someone like you who has this God that has treated me so bad my whole life with it, and I've gone through that too. I turned away from that.
Thank you. We have only a couple more questions. I was wondering if it'd be okay to invite Logan.
Not sure. What if you could ask him something like?
Just some words of advice that he'd like to. Words of hope.
Do you want to do that?
Okay. A little bit closer. There you go. Thanks. So do you have any words of hope that you'd like to give to maybe like a family member or even somebody who was struggling?
I just don't really know what to say, really.
Yeah, that's okay.
What's your views on what do you think about how people should treat each other?
Oh, that's a good one.
I feel like they should treat each other nicely and not be mean to each other. I just kind of wish that everybody was nice to each other in the world.
Yeah, we definitely need more kindness. Thank you so much, Logan.
That was great. Thank you.
Yeah, you did a great job. Well, thank you both for being here.
You're welcome.
Thank you for taking the time to interview with us. And is there any place in particular that we can find information on Stop Before You Start?
Yeah, Stop B. It's STOP B4U Start .org.
Perfect. Thank you,
go.
Anna.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Danny. And thank you guys for joining us.